Catching exceptions, and today I'm going to introduce you to a man who maintains best practices while doctoring Docker, Vasiliy Fomichev. Thank you for being here with me today. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
So, let me just try to get to know you a little bit by asking you where you're from, where you grew up.
So originally I'm from Russia. Grew up in Russia. I moved when I was 16 years old. That's where I actually got into computers.
What part of Russia are you from, or what town?
So it's a town of Kovrov. It's Vladimir region, about 4 hours from Moscow, southeast, I'd say. It's a pretty small place, about 250,000 people.
Probably mini city.
Yeah.
And what's Boise, Idaho like? What was that like to make that transition?
Boise, I actually liked Boise a lot. It was definitely a big change for me coming from Russia and going to school in Boise State University is great school, great engineering program. Boise itself, what I liked about it is it's very close to the outdoors, and I love outdoors. I like camping, hiking, fishing, hunting, you name it. So it was a great place for me, half hour outside of town and you're in the wilderness. So if anyone's looking for a great vacation, that's definitely northern Idaho.
Yeah. All right. And what were some of the games that you got into? gotta know.
Games. So Counter-Strike was a big one. Counter-Strike. I was on a Counter-Strike team for our city, and then got into StarCraft. Got into Warcraft. Got into Quake. I was on a team for StarCraft, but was about to get on Warcraft, and that's when I moved to the United States. So, but it was the Quake, Counter-Strike, Warcraft, and StarCraft, the main ones.
So, in school, you went for IT. What is it that drew you to IT in the beginning?
I got into computers when I was a kid, and I remember in school in Russia walking past that the information technology room with those old Macs and Commodores, and sitting in there and always wondering what that was like, and so I always had curiosity towards electronics. Got into computers. I went in, got into a computer club, programming club for Visual Basic, working on Macs, just simple stuff, drawing things. Got me excited. Once I figured out that you can write something and make it do things, that got me really excited. I really got into computer development at first. Then I went into networking. I discovered that computers could talk to each other. I discovered I could send messages. And then I also discovered I could send messages to people that didn't want me to send messages to.
But did it take you a little while to go from IT to programming, or was that kind of an overlap?
There was a lot of overlap. I feel like IT and system administration should work very closely with development. And back then, it wasn't as obvious as now. Now we have things like DevOps. Now we're seeing things that weren't obvious back then. But I feel like having that understanding coming from the systems background helped me understand how things worked and how computers communicate. The memory stack, what actually goes on inside the computer when you're writing programs, right? When you're a developer, you got to be careful about the memory usage, the process utilization, about all those things that people don't often think about. But coming from the system admin background, helped me understand how important that was, especially when the resources were scarce, when we had, slow internet connections, when we had older hardware where it was very expensive, storage was very expensive. So it really helped me become a much better developer early on.
All right, and so you've got the CMS Best Practices blog, and I'm a little bit of a writer myself, so I want to get your feel for what it's like trying to always produce something that's interesting or relevant, and what's into the process of going in and making some of the posts that you're doing.
If you ever write something if you get a chance to go back and read it, not just proofread it, but after you actually post it, go to your website and try to read what you actually wrote. Try to go through your blogs and posts. And I did that a couple times, and I felt like that was really boring.
That's real honest. That's a good way to get your good criticism, right?
I sort of try to put myself in the shoes of other people that are looking for things and that are interested in psych or trying to learn things. Always try to approach a problem from different perspectives. And I felt like what I was doing was very redundant. It was boring. So I decided to rethink a few things, and I stopped writing about things that are already out there. Why pollute the internet? And I really started writing what I was passionate about. So things that I was very interested in. Not just putting content out there just for the sake of putting something out there, but being involved in innovating and creating things which I'm very passionate about. Innovation is one of the things that drives me.
I like going back because I always forget half the stuff that I did. And I'll be like looking for it, find my own posts.
Some of the things, take Docker for instance, right? It was my first post. It was very technical, or even solar setup for production. That was really my notepad. That was me going through and taking notes and like, hey, this is very useful. Why not put it in a blog format?
So that's pretty much all I've got for you. But the last point is always your exception message. So if there's anything you'd like to say to the general public at large, now's your time.
So I would say to everyone out there, be different, stay hungry, stay foolish, and innovate. I believe innovation drives everything, not only at work, in your life as well. Try to do something different every week, and that makes everything that much more interesting.
All right. Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure.
All mine.
So that was Catching Exceptions, and you just met Vasiliy Fomichev, Psych-Core architect for Verndale. Next time you see me, we're going to be getting to know somebody else. Till then, hang loose.